I don't know who some of these people are, so I'm gonna stop looking at it. Does that make sense? Ah, come on. Oh my gosh, my kitten is so stinking cute, y'all. He decided to sleep next to me all night long. I mean, and we're not talking the biggest little kitten you've ever seen either, so he's, oh, very small. Let's zoom, let's see, see if we can see him. He's also black, so it's hard to pick up. Huh?
He's so tiny.
Well, he's maybe 7 weeks old. Here, I'll bring it around, you can see, he's got white whiskers, white tufts in his ears.
Can you yell talkative?
Huh? Oh, yeah, he does. And he's purrs. He is adorable.
I don't know.
When he says, "Honey, he's sleeping next to me," I have to, he is stinking cute.
His whiskers are long.
Yeah, and they're white on the black fur. Yeah, he does snarking, he does. He has white toes on his front feet, but not all of them. His back feet are white socks. He has 2 little white boobies and a white bone. So, it's just, yeah, he's stinking cute.
I have a random strange question. Do you believe in ghosts?
In a way?
What if there was like video and picture evidence of a
Well,
story and he explains and then he gives you the evidence to it?
I'd have to see it.
It's been a while. I guess it didn't blow up like it should have, but it was really creepy and unsettling. Like this guy, he has a dream that he saw this kid with like a big bump in his head, like dented in.
Mhm.
And like later on, he starts hearing noises in his attic. He starts getting like weird dreams and stuff like that. And you can only ask the little boy 2 questions. If you ask him 3, your parents will try to kill you. Well, you ask him 2 questions.
I'm sorry.
This was all being told to him in a dream, so it's like, it's
Yeah.
weird. And so he like accidentally asked the 3rd question, and then
Hey, slide all that over from Mateo if you can. So.
after that,
Thank
he
you.
got like a really bad sleep paralysis, and like, he said that like the kid is like walking towards him. Well, he was able to move his hands just a little bit, and he kept his phone beside him. Well, he was just snapping pictures, but he thought he was just having a dream. Well, the next morning, his phone was on the camera roll, and he was like scrolling through them, and like the little boy appeared on his recliner. He's just like looking at him.
Okay, so where did you see this, on the internet?
It's on Twitter. It's a BuzzFeed author, and he like verified, and it's really creepy. Like, he ended up moving.
Well, I'm creeped out by what you're saying, but it sounds like somebody's, well, I don't know if we're gonna have any of the schools today, because it's frickin' Columbus Day, which is such a wonderful holiday, we should all have it off.
Well,
And none of the schools bothered to tell. I had one school email me this morning and say, "Oh, we don't have school today."
Can you just record the video and we can all?
Well, they have to watch it. So if when they're not in class, if they, like, one of the schools is giving the SAT Wednesday,
Yeah.
that means they've missed both days of class this week. They've gotta watch videos. I'm not going back to reteach, so that's just how it works. I don't have time to do that. So we're gonna talk about what we're doing, and so the rest of the semester is based on argumentation, but though we have 2 writing assignments. There's Mateo, all right, awesome.
The gang's here.
Yeah, the whole gang's here today. All right, so we have, along with argumentation is basically writing about, some kind of an issue that you can argue for, okay? You take a stand on the topic, okay? They're called topical issues. One of the things you have to do is you have to find evidence, and so the assignment that's gonna lead up to that is there's one that's summary and paraphrase. So the summary and paraphrase is worth 100 points, as is the argumentative essay, but you have to do a lot more work on the argumentative essay. So, but that's what we're doing, okay? So that's what's coming up. I'm making sure I've got everything out there. So, I'm gonna go ahead and intro it today, and they just have to watch the video. I mean, somebody said, please let me know when they've got it uploaded. I have nothing else to do. Sorry. Okay, so we actually were going over possible topics because argumentation is about doing that. So what we're gonna do first is we're gonna look at argumentation. Let me get into your unit. Make sure I got everybody's 7 weeks up there. First off, I need to shrink down my board, my screen, my board. It's been a long Monday already. My sister-in-law got into town, and my niece and my nephew-in-law and their 2 kids, but they didn't get in town till about 10:20, so we're driving up off a North Slide to go pick my sister-in-law up, to come stay with us, and then my son shows up at my house at 11:15 and stays till almost 1 in the morning, and I'm like, I can't do this, I'm too old for this. I'm way too old to stay up that late. All right, so I'm gonna go into week 7 of your Blackboard course, and everything is in there. There's the weekly checklist. I probably am going to kick back, turn in a topic for argumentative research, and submit a copy of the article for summary. I may move those back to next week. I don't have to rush as much, just because you're gonna get, on Wednesday, Tracy Pineda, she's one of the librarians here at Reese, just right across the hall, she's gonna come over and show how to do research on the SBC databases. Because when you write argumentation, did y'all write research papers at all in high school?
We wrote one.
One? Was it your junior year or senior year? It would have been just last year.
I didn't make it.
Well, I mean, I had, everybody last period said, we didn't write anything our senior year. I was like, that's because you've already taken the STAR test. And it takes a while to grade papers. I still have one paper left to finish the narrative. I forgot to print one. And so, but they're going in school today, so I'm not too worried.
If you want the honest truth, the only thing that I can tell you that we did in English, my senior year was pretty much watch movies.
All right, okay. That's a shame. You missed out on some stuff, possibly.
Yes, I did.
Okay, let's go. First thing we're gonna do is we're gonna talk about the argumentative assignment.
And that's with the support of the teacher's login.
Well, and the problem is that it hurts you for going into college.
No.
Because we like you to have been taught some stuff before you get here. So, this is the assignment, it's in week 7, you have a folder that says argumentation and one folder that says, let's go back and look at it just to show you. Here it is. There's a checklist, summary, paraphrase, handouts. Turn in final compare and contrast essay. When is that due? Tomorrow. Okay? There's the argumentation folder. Here is this is a PDF we're not gonna talk about today. Those are the same document. That's interesting. I think I'll delete this one. Oh, it's not gonna let me. Hold on, I need to come up here and hit delete. We don't need 2 copies of it in there. Oh, how many times did I put it in this class? There's a 3rd one. That's hilarious. Okay. So what we're gonna look at right now though is argumentation and the assignment. So, students will select a topical issue and write an argumentative essay about the topic. Topical issues are anything out there that people feel for or against. And I do have a list of topics you cannot write about, because I don't like to grade those papers, because they're not very good. They tend to not be very good. So, in other words, if you want to write about, should the U.S. be building a wall on our southern borders, you could write about that. That's an acceptable topic. Or the U.S. needs to have a border wall because of, you gotta give me reasons. Does that make sense? But you have to do research to come up with them. It's a minimum 600 words in length. That's not that long, okay? But that's just the essay. That's not counting for some other stuff. You should quote at least 2 reputable sources. They have to be from legitimate people, okay? They can't be off of websites or blogs, because anybody in the world can go out there and create a blog. And, you know, if you can write halfway well, people will think you know what you're talking about, right? Or set up a website. So that's why on this particular assignment, the argumentative essay, you have to use SBC databases to get an A. Your 2 sources have to come from SBC databases. But that's what you're going to learn on Wednesday, okay? It should contain an introduction ending with a thesis that has your argumentative thesis that states what you're arguing for or against. But there's no first person or second person. You're not gonna go, I believe the United States should not intervene unilaterally in foreign countries. Basically, that's saying we shouldn't go fight wars in other countries. That was the debate topic my junior year in high school, which would have been 1971, 72. And it's still an issue. Is that not scary? That's 50 years. That is 50 years ago.
That is also George Washington's, leaving the White House statement.
We shouldn't be in foreign countries, okay. All right, the essay ends with the conclusion that either summarizes points, but look out, it says no first person or second person pronouns. The last page of the document, and not part of the word count, is called a works cited. Did you have to do a works cited when you wrote it? Yeah. One reason we're starting it now, and we have 6 to 7 weeks to do it, is so we have enough time to get it done. I've tried to squeeze in the argumentative essay in 2 weeks. Doesn't ever work well. So that's why I'm approaching it differently this year. The list of prohibited topics are abortion, gun control, homosexuality, and prayer in schools. That's only 4. These are topics that people feel either very positively or very negatively against. And when we have too much emotion involved in a topic, we don't write well about it. Abortion is a hot topic right now because of the extremely strict ban on it here in the state of Texas. Where people, I could sue, if you were to take your girlfriend to go, and you're not going to, I could sue you if she got an abortion. And I have nothing, yes, that's part of the rules of that abortion law, is that somebody who has nothing to do with the issue can sue a person for doing it. Isn't that ridiculous, though, that a random person on the street can sue someone, can sue the doctor who performs it? It's not anybody involved in it, it's just anybody who believes it's wrong. I have a problem with that. They can also sue, if you Uber to it, they can sue the Uber driver.
So anyone basically involved with it?
Yes, can be sued. Yes. Yeah, that's a bit much. Okay. Gun control, God love you. It's not the people who are for gun control, it's the people who don't want it, who write rabidly about how they need those dadgum guns so they can go out and kill those animals so they can eat and protect themselves. Those are the ones that like to write about gun control. And I'm sorry. I think we need it, personally. But you're allowed your beliefs. But I don't want to read from the rabid person who's saying that because it allows them to feed themselves. I mean, honestly, how many people are out there shooting deer so that their family can eat?
Not very.
Well, they like to use that as an excuse, but and I have had some avid hunters in my classes.
Really?
And they know my feelings on gun control. We can still be friends. You're allowed to want to have your gun, and I'm allowed to think you don't really need it, because are you really living off of that deer meat, okay? When you've also got hogs on the farm you're slaughtering, you know what I'm saying? No. You see what I'm talking about? Homosexuality, oh my gosh. It's not those who are homosexual who say, yes, we should be able to do whatever we want. It's those who say, it's wrong, it's against God, you can't do it. And we don't argue well when we argue from too much emotion. And some of the worst papers I ever got in my life, I had a semester where 8 people wrote about we needed prayer in school. Prayer in school. The problem was they didn't have a whole lot of sources supporting them. And they only wanted to quote the Bible, but there's not really anything that says you should have prayer in schools in the Bible. It talks about the benefits of prayer. Okay, so there.
Yeah, we were on TV. O'Donnell was a few years ago when we built our new school. We had scriptures put on the wall.
And that upsets.
Everyone went insane.
That upsets a lot of people. And by golly, as long as there are tests in school, there will be prayer in schools. Trust me. I mean, I know it. But I want people to be able to write not from emotion, but from logic. Okay? So, and it tells you that's basically what that says. When an individual's feelings are too strong about a topic, we don't write well about it. All you have to do is look at all those crazed ranting on Facebook about stuff, right? There's tons of it out there. Okay. If you have any concerns about a topic and you're not restricted to the list that I have. You can go off of that list, but you need to clear it with me. But there will be somebody who will try to turn in a paper on one of these topics as a draft, I can guarantee, because they don't read, they don't listen. So, all right. So that is argumentation. Now, one of the things, you've got a document that's a Word document that says argumentation, the art of argumentation, not persuasion. We're going to look at that one real quick. Okay, it's a Word document. Okay.
Does it have to be something political?
No.
So it can be something like...
One of the best papers I ever got was, what was the best brand of mascara to use?
Oh.
Somebody, now listen, they wrote well about it, they had research on it.
No, I'm saying that's good.
Yeah, you know, so I've had somebody write a really good paper, and they researched different diets. And they said which was probably the best diet for most people. That's perfectly fine. But we think, I mean, a lot of these are not really, they just come up as, they're political because they're issues. Right now, isn't it strange that those topics, and that, I've had this list, that has been created for a long time, the list that you can't write about. And they're still appropriate now. One of the most interesting topics is the death penalty. If you can't come up with a topic, you can always write about the death penalty. It should be abolished or it should not be abolished. What are the reasons it should not be abolished? What are the reasons it should be abolished? It's a topic that's out there. And it's like the United States should not intervene unilaterally in foreign countries. I mean, 50 years and it's still a topic. You can, I mean, it was a debate topic not that long ago, a CX debate topic. Yeah, it's always been a topic. So there's, you see what I'm saying? There's a lot of stuff out there that, what it seems like it's political because we're still having issues with it, okay? Sad to say. All right, let's see if I can go. Let me click in here, go. Let me see if I hit home, if it'll, no, it doesn't take me to stop. That's because I blew up the screen, that's why. All right. Okay, so argumentation, not the art of persuasion. Argumentation is the process of reasoning that asserts soundness of a debatable position. Let's see, reasoning, not emotion, okay? Argumentation takes a stand supported by evidence, and that's what the librarian's going to show us on Wednesday, okay? And it urges people to share the writer's conclusion that they, or the, you know, the side we're presenting, okay? I can't guarantee you'll convince me that diesel's better than gas. I have somebody comparing, contrasting diesel and gas. It's going to be an interesting paper, okay? Compare and contrast essay, that's all I'll say. But persuasion is a general term that we use to talk about how a writer influences people. And don't we, when I was introing compare and contrast, I said, you sit with your friends, you go, hey, what do you want to do tonight? And you compare and contrast your options. But then all of a sudden you decide, I want to do this, and then you start trying to persuade the other person to do what you want to do. So inherently, almost all writing is persuasive. If I'm going to write and tell you something, I'm going to try to convince you that what I'm saying is the way to go. Whether this is what it should be, or this is the best movie, or you should go see this movie for these reasons. And I'm trying to convince you that it is the right thing to do. So that's personal belief that all writing is inherently. I'm trying to convince you that what I'm saying is true. And it is, because I'm the teacher, and I'm grading your papers. Remember, we're operating in, what do I call it? English land, right? Okay. So, but what's interesting is when we're talking about argumentation, persuasion is we try to appeal to emotions to get people to agree with us, but argumentation uses Aristotelian, his 3 appeals. And Aristotle, old dead Greek, I had to read him to get my master's in English. Oh, it was hard. No paragraphs. Everything's just one long paragraph. It's bad. But that's translated from ancient Greek. There are 3 appeals. You have the appeal to pathos, which is based on emotion, the appeal to logos, which is based on logic, and the appeal to ethos, which is based on the reputation of the writer. So the ethical things that you associate with them. So pathos is when we're doing persuasive, pathos is what we're appealing to most of the time. No, that's like little kids say, but I want a kitty cat. If it's as cute as mine, you can have it, but you can't have mine, okay? But you're sitting there trying to appeal to emotions, and a lot of what we see on political commercials, the ads for different candidates, are based on emotion, all right? Logos is logic, and that's really where we want to come from argumentation. If you can give me logical reasons, I can see what you're doing and I can support what you're saying. But if it's only emotional appeals, you got a problem, okay? And then ethos, and ethos is one of those things that gets attacked when you're talking about political campaigns. It's called poisoning the well. If I'm the first speaker in a debate, and I get up and I say blah, 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 and I said, by the way, my opponent, you can't believe a single thing he says, he lies all the time. I have poisoned the well by saying that about that person. So and they do that a lot. if you watch political ads, they don't talk about themselves, they talk about the opponent and how they're lying about this and this and this and this and this. That's what political ads are. The majority of them are, that's what you see, is how the other person is lying and not telling you the truth. Kind of one of those deals. Argumentation is the appeal to reason. You connect a series of statements so that they lead logically to a conclusion. So you come up with your 3 reasons. You can have 4, you can have 2, but they have to be two really good ones, okay? It differs from persuasion because persuasion wants to call you to action. I want you to consider my side of the story or the issue and believe and understand that I'm arguing from logic versus trying to get you to say, yes, we need to go invade the Capitol and get rid of the people we want. And I got a very interesting paper about somebody who said their grandparents were there and said that didn't happen. I'm not really sure about that. It was an interesting paper, and I allowed that person to say what they wanted to say, okay? Because that's their right to say that, because that's what they were told by their grandparents. They were there and they didn't see any of that. So, you know, it's one of those deals. But the purpose in argumentation is to show that certain ideas are valid and others are not. It helps if I put it on the right thing. There we go. There's a formal structure to argumentation of making points, supplying evidence, establishing a logical chain of reasoning, refuting opposing counter-arguments, and accommodating the audience's views. So that's one of the things that in the past I've had to leave out, refutation of the counter-arguments. In other words, saying that what the other people believe is correct is wrong. I'm now adding that in, so the paper is probably going to be more along the lines of at least 700, though 600 is a minimum, okay? Most effective arguments combine at least two of the appeals. Logos has to be part of it. You can appeal to emotion, but you don't want to use that as the primary argument. And attacking the ethicalness of what is being said is another issue. But remember that although appeals to emotion can be effective and can reinforce your central argument, they do not take the place of sound logic and compelling evidence. It's all about the evidence. Having coached cross-sex debate, that's where you ran into some interesting stuff, is the evidence that comes up. And you can tell teams that did not have good arguments because they didn't have evidence. I got to judge at the state level. Yeah, or they would never refute what the opposing team was saying because they had nothing to say. So they would just.
They basically.
Mhm. Did you do a little CX? Yeah.
They just threw me in and they were like, we need points.
Oh, I was lucky enough that I had teams go to state 3 years in a row.
My older brother went to state.
Yeah. I had one speaker get 5th best speaker in the state too. Then they made it to octafinals. That was my second year. Well, in academics, all you have to do is get to state to be eligible for scholarships, but in cross-sex debate, you have to actually make it to the second day, which begins with octafinals. You have to realize when you go to state debate, there are teams from all over, every little 1A, 2A school. You know, there's probably about 300 teams there, so you have 4 rounds of prelims, and then you move the top 8 teams, octafinals. No, the top 16 teams move to octafinals. And then from that, if you lose, you're out. But if you get to octafinals, you qualify for a UIL academic scholarship in debates. And I've had students use it. I had speakers get to say prose, poetry, ready writing. I had a second place in ready writing these days. So that was cool. And she's actually working on her master's in theater arts in Illinois right now. Yeah. So one of the things you have to consider, though, sometimes that when you're doing argumentative, some of your evidence, like, I'm going to be honest, when you talk about the death penalty, abolishing the death penalty, there's a lot more evidence to abolish it than there is to keep it. But I tell everybody it's a great topic to write on. It is, because there's a lot of information out there on the death penalty. And so what might happen is if you go in thinking your topic is going to be this side of the issue, but all of your evidence supports the other side, switch your topic to the other side. Switch to the other side, or choose a new topic, but you can't wait till the last minute because there's too much going on, okay? And if you can't argue logically, you might need to just get another topic. So developing a thesis, it has to be debatable. Nobody's gonna sit there and say, smoking should be outlawed because it is bad for your health, it causes, extreme illnesses. Nobody's gonna argue that smoking's good for you, right? Would you agree? Nobody's gonna argue that smoking's good. It hurts you, okay? It just does. It doesn't matter whether you're smoking nicotine or marijuana, it's still not good for you. It hurts your lungs, okay? I'm not even talking about what it does to the rest of your body, okay? So you have to have a debatable position. And there actually is one, smoking should be banned. Well, it's actually banned in most public places right now. You have to be 25 feet from the front doors here to smoke. And there's nothing worse though, people don't know how far 25 feet is. They want to stand underneath an overhang so they've got shade, which keeps the smoke trapped in and everybody has to walk through it. And I'm an ex-smoker, so I haven't smoked in 30 years. It's been a long time. So it must be debatable and it must state a proposition that at least some people disagree with, so will object to. So yes, some people will object to, we should abolish the death penalty. Some people will object to it. No, we need to keep it, because it stops people from killing people. Guess what? I don't know of anybody, I don't know if there's any evidence that says that before somebody kills somebody, they think, oh, if I kill them, I'm gonna get executed. That's just not, doesn't cross the mind of somebody who's gonna kill somebody, okay? So that doesn't work. It's not a deterrent, but they say it is. Yeah, it's one of those. So analyze your audience. Your audience is me, guys, and you probably know more about me. If you stop and think, you probably know more about me than you think you do. Because I talk a lot about, you can kind of have an idea what my political views are, but I try to be impartial when it comes to grading a paper. It's not my job to judge what you're writing. It's my job to judge the quality of your writing. So, okay. Gathering and documenting evidence, you've got to make sure you have evidence. So there are kinds of evidence. Facts are statements that everybody can basically agree are true. Like the United States, the Declaration of Independence was signed July 4, 1776. We're all going to agree that that's true. And we're all going to agree that the First Amendment is the right to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, and the second one is the right to bear arms. So you don't have to credit the Bill of Rights or the Constitution or whatever, okay? You don't have to do that. But if you're going to tell me that statistically 93% of all children in divorce end up with major eating habits, you're going to have to give me a source for that, okay? Major eating disorders. I just made up a statement. It's not out there, okay? I will do that frequently. Opinions or judgments or beliefs that are not substantiated by proof. As a result, they do not carry the same weight as something that's a fact that you can do. But they can be persuasive, especially when they are, the opinion is of somebody who's an expert in a field. So if I were to say, and I'm going to talk about, one of the topics is that the behavior of children right now is worse than it's been in the past. And there's always some students, and particularly a lot of my SPC students, when I've had I used to have at least 2 sections of SPC students only. I don't anymore. Everything is dual credit for me, so I have smaller sets. But there were always girls. Most guys don't take human growth and development, I'll be honest. But they would, yeah, but that's it, most guys, see, I did qualify. But I had a student in there who came across this wonderful blog, and she said, and she gave me the author's name and her sentence. She said, this is such and such by so-and-so. And she writes that, blah, 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 blah. And I said, okay, what are her credentials? And she goes, well, it was in a blog. Anybody can create a blog. So I said, show me, let's go to the website and look at it. So we look at the website, it just has her name on it. I said, do you have any information about her? She is a mother of 3 children. That's the information you have. She has no extra training whatsoever. So that's an opinion. She's writing about how to raise your children so that they're better. I said, that's an opinion, that's not very valuable. It's just not got the worth of, if I say, John Smith, professor of early adolescent psychology at MIT, writes that or believes that, well, if I say him, he's an authority, he's done research, he's got some background knowledge that mother doesn't have.
In other words, he's got the title.
He's got the title, he's got the creds, he's got credibility. Yeah. And so that's why you can use an opinion if it's somebody who's credible. You can't, the opinion of somebody who just writes a blog is not that great. Sad to say, okay? Credibility is the believability of the person. You know, that's what the term is, they've got cred, that's what they mean. Okay? So criteria for evidence, it has to be relevant to your topic, your thesis. It has to be representative. You have to look at both sides because you are gonna have to do the counter argument, and it should be sufficient. And documentation, don't worry about. If you didn't do MLA, we've got time to get it done over the next 7 weeks, okay? And plagiarism, I hate to say this, but I had somebody plagiarize their narrative. Not in this class. I had somebody plagiarize their narrative, and they got a 0. Turn it in, checks for plagiarism. And this was just a website that they plagiarized from. And I was sad to see it. Because that's a problem. And that student's I don't know, it's one of those cases where I don't know if the student will come back to class, because they should have already seen their grade by now. So, because the grade is in the grade book and sent back to them, so that's one of those deals. So, the point is that when plagiarism is not just using somebody else's words, it's also using their ideas. Ideas are owned by those individuals, so you have to give credit to those sources. Things that are common knowledge, you probably don't have to give credit to. If you want to say George Washington was the first president, you have to give me a source. I know that. I was almost alive back then. I'm kind of old. Not that old. Okay. But if something can be found in lots of sources, you don't necessarily need to give it credit. But if you're going to say that 87% of all inmates convicted and assessed the death penalty are not deterred by the death penalty, you've got to give a source on that, because we don't know that. And so, let's see. Document any use. Dealing with the opposition, it's called refutation or counter-refutation, the counter-argument. It'll always be the next to last paragraph in an argumentative essay. And I did include this because I thought you'd like to know it. Deductive reasoning proceeds from a general premise or assumption to a specific conclusion. That is what most people speak of when they're talking about logic. And if you go back and think about, you take chemistry or physics or sciences in high school, and you go and you do experiments, right? And they have you do stuff that's already been proven. Does that seem like that's that valuable? You know what I'm saying? It seems like they just want you to write a document. You have to do this experiment, and then you have to write it up so that you learn how to do scientific procedure. That's what it's for. Inductive reasoning moves from evidence to conclusion, and that is a definition of what Sherlock Holmes does as a character. He moves from evidence to the conclusion. So, that is that. So, don't save. All right, so, where are we at time-wise? 10:28. I can talk, let me talk a little bit about summary, all right? So, look, I've got a PowerPoint. It's just wonderful. Of course it isn't. I find them online, and I just use them because I don't have to create them that way. Okay, so, but this is for English 1301, Freshman Composition 1, okay? And it's writing an effective summary. And it's a pretty good quick summation of it. So basically a summary is a significant reduction of an original source. So when we're talking an article, before you ever start writing that paper, you've got to figure out a topic, and then you've got to start finding sources. So instead of you having to writing the summary about something that has no bearing on what you're going to write this argumentative essay on, I'm asking you to do some research to begin with, and you find an article and write a summary of that. I recommend you find something that's at least 750 to 1,000 words long. It doesn't have to be super long, because that summary only has to be 1 page. And it's going to get the same amount of points as the argumentative essay. But you also have to do paraphrase. There's 2 parts to that particular assignment, but the summary is going to be the bulk of it, okay? We're going to reduce it to a significant amount. To write an effective summary, follow these guidelines. You determine the main idea of the piece you're going to do the summary over. You write 1 sentence that captures that main idea. It almost sounds like you're doing a short answer for the STAR test, which they're putting back in short answers. They took them out and they're putting them back in. Yeah, I'm so glad I don't have to teach for that. Okay, as you read or view it, note the major areas of evidence that the piece provides, and then write 1 sentence that communicates the gist of that idea, of the idea of each of those main ideas. The main idea of each of those main ideas. That was redundant. Okay. Avoid these common problems. To avoid plagiarizing, do not look at the summary when you're trying to come up with this to begin with, while you're composing it. Because if you quote, you cannot quote in the summary. and you don't give statistics, it's just gonna be you summarizing the main points of what someone else has said. There's no first person in a summary. It's not about you, it's about what the author wrote. You don't have any place in this essay except as a summarizer, okay, on the summary portion. This is my Halloween kind of stuff going on. Use what you remember from the reading or viewing. Do not use first or second person pronouns. No I, me, my, no you, your. You won't even use we. You're gonna, in a summary, you refer to the author, because that keeps you from putting your ideas in there, okay? And write the summary in your own words, and then you're going to, after you've written it, you can go back and revisit the source to confirm the facts. Now, I'm gonna be realistic. You've got one that's a Word document that says, about good summarizing. It actually tells you to read it like 3 times. I know you're not gonna read it 3 times. I'm realistic, but I'm gonna come back to the point of why we need to learn how to do summaries well, okay? Well, let's finish this one. He looks so pensive. Do not express an opinion about the source, neither disagree nor sing its praises. That's a big mouth, okay? Use this formula. You're gonna write the specific name of the piece plus a strong action verb plus the main idea. The 60-minute story, Thrift Shop Masterpiece, explains the controversy surrounding a possible Jackson Pollock painting, okay? So, that tells you that you're gonna be reading the summary about how somebody found a Jackson Pollock original, which is worth a lot of money, in a thrift store. And they probably got a lot of money for it, okay? So, see how, and that really kind of pushes it back there. So show me what you can do. All right, that's that. So, one of the reasons why we are talking about summary is that in your higher levels of college education, you're probably going to do more summary writing than you will some paper writing. You'll go into I don't know what, you've all got different majors, and you will not probably be at SPC when you do it, unless you're maybe in a music history or music appreciation or art history, one of those, maybe psychology. That they will give you an article and tell you to summarize the article. Because being able to read something and concisely give a summary of it is a good skill to have. You go to a movie, people say, what did you think of the movie? Tell me about the movie. They're asking you to summarize the movie, aren't they? So that's kind of what we've got going on here. Let me get out of that. Okay, let's go look at the Word document one. But you're gonna see that being able to summarize is gonna be a skill that you use in other classes besides English. So in a way, I think it's probably one of the most important things I can teach you this semester. Okay, so, let me get back up to the top of the article. I blow it up so much I can't find the, and we're gonna come skimming. It's being really cranky on me right now. It takes so long to scroll with the mouse. Okay, good summaries. Tell the main idea clearly, are written in your own style, are shorter than the original document, explain all the important notions and arguments, and condense a lot of information. So, I'm looking for no more than a page. There will be somebody, probably several somebodies, at some of my schools who'll write a page and a half, 2 pages. But I am looking for more than a single paragraph with 5 sentences. I need something between the two where you get all the ideas. That's why I'm saying you need an article that's 750 to at least 1,000 words to be able to get a full page, okay? Find the main idea. This is just repeating that. You want to identify the main idea. So look at the title of the article. That's one of the first things you should do. Read it, and then in the first reading, you want to get the general notion of the essay. What's the main idea? What is it about? Kind of repetitive. And write down what you think the main notion of the essay is, and then that'll probably be the thesis of your summary. Include the author's first and last name and the title of the article in your first sentence. There's a specific method to writing a summary, and it involves the author, okay? Using the author's name. You refer to the author in every single sentence in the summary, okay? To figure out the central idea, you should ask yourself why this essay was written. So, look at the title, the place it was published. If something is published in People magazine, that's kind of a general pop fiction kind of thing, right? But if it's published in Scientific American, that's a different audience, isn't it? So you know that it's probably going to be more technical over there, whereas People magazine is going to be more about the love life of somebody or what they wore to something, right? or that's Us Magazine. For some reason, my husband has been a retired dentist for 4 or 5 years, and we still get magazines like People and Us, and we're like, I should bring them up here and leave them for kids to get out of the library thing over there, okay? I really need to know what Megan and Harry and Kate and William are fighting over. Okay. The date of publication has a lot to do with it. So for you guys, right now, we're not writing about English, we're gonna be writing about topical issues. The newer the date, probably the better considered the information is, okay, whatever your topic is. The type of essay, the tone of the piece, do you know what tone is? They don't teach tone in school anymore. Tone is those words the author used that give you an idea how they feel about their topic. So if I'm gonna talk about the scent of the room, scent is kind of a neutral, we don't feel positive or negative about it, do we? But if I say odor, does odor sound positive? The odor in the room was, it's a negative connotation, but if I say the perfumery smell of the classroom distracted me, that's a positive. So tone is created by the words you choose. So if I want to write about something is disgusting,
The fragrance.
I will, if I want you to think something is bad, I'm going to choose words that make you think it's bad.
Oh, no, I was saying that it's like trying to say it positively.
Yeah, perfume would be positively. So if you are wanting people to say something is bad, you want them to agree with you that something is not good, the death penalty should be kept, we need to keep the death penalty because it does this, then you're going to talk about disgusting, horrible things that murderers have done to other people. You're going to choose things that create a tone that show how, if we don't kill them, we're doing the wrong thing. We need to kill them, right? So that's what tone basically allows you to do. That's not the best definition, but it'll work. So here's an example. In Bypass Cure, James Johnson argues that new research suggests that the best cure for diabetes is a surgical solution of a gastric bypass. That is so wrong. But you know how somebody feels about it. Identify the important arguments. This is for the second reading. Do whatever you want to do, guys, okay? One of the things they recommend is that when you do find an article that you want to summarize, come a little bit early to class. Go over here into the lab over here, easy access to the databases, print a couple of copies. Remember, you get 60 copies a week that you can print here at school free in those computer labs, down all the way at the end of the hall, okay? It's a lot easier to summarize something if you have a paper copy in front of you, and you can underline and mark, okay, you can write on it so you can use it, instead of trying to annotate on a document like this. Because if you don't save your annotations and you've done all that work, it's gone. Whereas if you print it out on a piece of paper, you've got it handy, okay? Underline the topic sentence of each paragraph, should be the first sentence. Write that sentence in your own words. When you finish the article, read all the topic sentences. In your own words, rewrite those main ideas. Use complete sentences with good transition words. And be sure you don't use the same words, phrasing, or sentence structure as the original. And leave out unimportant details. I don't want to see statistics, data. I don't want to see quotes from the summary. All I want is your summarizing of the main points. And it should be as short and concise as possible. See how that word keeps coming up, short and concise. I'm looking at Dante as I say that. Hey, don't feel bad. I got 2 narratives out of this last set that were 5 pages. They were on to the 5th page. Yeah. Yeah.
Just so I know, I had to limit it from 2 to 3 pages over just
Yep.
1 page essay.
Okay. So your summary should start with the author's name and the title of the work. So here are different ways to do that. So hang on to this because it tells you how to start it. In Cats Don't Dance, John Wood explains, the title of the article is Cats Don't Dance. John Wood is the author. And see how you've got, and then it explains what's the main idea. Explains that cats are not as trainable as, cats are difficult to train. That might be the main idea. I don't know. John Wood in Cats Don't Dance explains, according to John Wood in Cats Don't Dance, and as John Wood vividly elucidates, that's a bit much, in his ironic story, Cats Don't Dance, but they're all the first sentence of a summary. John Wood claims in his ironic story, Cats Don't Dance, that. So that's different ways. All you have to do is substitute your author's name, first and last name, and the title of your article. And you've got the first sentence started. So after that will be the thesis of what you say it's about. Here's another one. Example sentence. In Cats Don't Dance, John Wood explains that in spite of the fact that cats are popular pets who seem to like us, Felines are not really good at any activities that require cooperation with someone else, whether that is dancing or sharing. And I'm gonna tell you, guess who slept next to me all night long? That little kitty cat. You have to be so, I was so tense because I didn't want to roll over on it, you know? And my age, I have to get up and go to the bathroom, so. And he stayed right there. He didn't move. The rest of your summary should be used to tell the central concepts that are used to support the thesis. Make it as short and concise as possible. It's in there several times. Condense sentences. Now, stick to the important points. Use author tags. In writing your summary, you need to clearly state the name of the article and the name of the article, essay, book, and the author. Okay, so here we have, according to Mary Johnson, in her essay, Cats Make Good Pets, the feline domestic companion is far superior to the canine one. You also need to continue to make it clear that the author is the one writing the words. So what helps you from doing it incorrectly, is that every sentence begins with some reference to the author. So you could say, Mary Johnson, it says right there, you can say, Johnson also says blah, 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 blah. The author goes on to discuss this. She then talks about blah, 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 blah. Johnson ends her essay. See how every sentence in the summary should refer back to the author, so that you're focusing on it's the author who said it and not you writing about it, okay? So what you get in here is you get an author tag verb list. So if you don't want to keep using the same verbs, come on, let's go over there. Switch. There we go. They give you a lot of great words. Said, persuades, argues, elucidates, concludes, criticizes, concedes, thinks, notes. So every verb, there's no, the author is writing about, you wouldn't say that. The author defines the topic as blah, 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 blah. The author concludes, that's down here somewhere. The author concludes, that should be your last sentence. The author concludes the article with the final point that blah, 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 blah. See? So you're forced back into saying what the author said. So don't lose this. Here it says when you refer to the author after the first time, you should always use the last name, but you don't use the last name every single time. You can use the appropriate gender pronoun. You can use first and last. Just don't use first and last every single time. Okay? And that's that. So what I want to do real quick is we're going to jump over and we're going to start looking at that topic list, okay? Because it's long and there's a lot in it. Let me see if I can scroll back up. All right. And some of them are political, some of them are not. But like I said, one of the best papers I ever got was what was the best brand of mascara to buy. Okay? Is global climate change man-made? So do you know how you can argue yes or no? You have either side. That's why these are written as questions, so that you can either say yes it is. You would say global climate change is man-made because of, and give me the 3 reasons. Is the death penalty effective? Slightly different from should it be abolished. The death penalty is effective because it, blah, 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 blah. The death penalty is not effective, blah, 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 blah. You have to have the reasons. Is our election process fair? I don't know about you guys. That was not what I meant to do. But the fact that we cast a popular vote, but yet we still have an electoral college that votes also, and that's what determines who the president is, why? Why do we have 2 counting systems?
You want to overpower politics.
Well, yeah, because, for instance, they've done redistricting, and that part of that is the electoral college. It's what's going on when you have the redistricting. And guess what? The districts out here in West Texas and the South Plains are huge compared to those districts over in Dallas and Houston and San Antonio and Austin, okay? So we have less say in the electoral college, this area of Texas does, than those areas. Do colleges put too much stock in standardized test scores? Did y'all all take the SAT or ACT?
Yeah.
They put a lot of stock in those. But the problem is those tests are focused on upper middle class white people. They're not reflective of minorities, and really, Hispanics are not minorities in the sense they're, that population is gonna surpass Caucasians pretty soon. Is torture ever acceptable? Only when you're teaching in an English class is it acceptable. Hey, I see y'all's eyes roll back in your heads, come on. Should men get paternity leave from work? That tends to be a popular topic. It doesn't mean you don't get to come to class. Sorry, Jose, good try. Is a lottery a good idea? Guess what? The lottery in Texas was proposed to help fund the education system. I don't know if money has ever gone to education from the lottery.
2 lottery tickets that need to be cast for a total of $75 payment charge.
You need to do that, dude, because they do expire.
It's going to my old one.
Ah, okay. Do we have a fair taxation system? I don't think we do, because wealthy people can afford really good tax accountants and lawyers. And they can, that's why Trump doesn't want to let out his tax returns, because he hasn't paid taxes in I don't know how many years. Because he's got the best people working on his. Whereas I've got my son's doing mine, and I've had to pay taxes. You know? Do curfews keep teens out of trouble? Do curfews keep teens out of trouble? No! Anything you can do after curfew, you can do before curfew, right? Yeah, you can. Yes, you can. Don't sit there. Yes, you can. I think you have evidence of that, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Let's be honest. Teens can do
Whatever they want.
whenever they want, you know? It doesn't matter about the time. Is cheating out of control? We're not talking about cheating on, a sexual relationship cheating, okay? We're talking about cheating on your taxes, cheating on school, cheating at work, you know? Is cheating out of control? Interesting one. Are we too dependent on computers? Shoot, yeah, we are, okay?
Oh my God.
Are parents clueless about child predators on the internet?
Nah.
I think parents are clueless about how to monitor their children's use of the internet. I think the predators is just one of the problems. Okay? I think we have too many parents who just don't even care their kids are on the internet. My daughter's going crazy. My 9-year-old grandson's making TikToks and he's cussing and she's not happy about that. So he gets his phone taken away. He doesn't get to do it. So, yeah. Should animals be used for research? By the way, there's an excellent source that'll be in the databases. It's called Opposing Viewpoints. It gives you both sides. They've had hard copies. They've had database, and we will be seeing those because Ms. Pineda's taught using the databases for me for several years, okay? I can even teach it, but she's better at it. Should cigarette smoking be banned? Yeah. So why are we arguing it? It should be. Nobody's gonna argue that it's good for you. Are law enforcement cameras an invasion of privacy?
I'm just gonna say this now.
Okay.
I have met several people that would absolutely argue that it is good for you.
Yeah, well, that's because they're smoking weed, because it makes them feel better, right? Yeah. So, and that's another one. There's somebody who's going to want to write this paper over, should marijuana be made, recreational marijuana be made legal? And that's fine, if you want to write that one. That tells me a lot about you, if you write that one. It's not the people who are not using it that write that one. It's the people who like to smoke it, okay? I'm just being honest.
Your conference is scheduled to end in 2 minutes.
Competency. I think the problem with our system is that we put too much emphasis on the school and not enough emphasis on the student and their parents. It's a three-way thing going on there. If you don't have the parents supporting the teachers, and I know not all teachers are great, but if the parents, if the parents are willing to call and say, oh, I'm sorry, my kid's home sick, and they're hungover from the previous night, that's not helping the child. That's not saying education is important, is it? So then the students who don't give a flip, the seniors who say, I don't have to do anything, I'm a senior, I'm gonna have a good time my senior year. I fought that battle with seniors every year I was teaching in a high school. They didn't think they needed to focus on anything because it was their senior year and it's supposed to be fun. Dude, it's gonna set you up for failure in college if you're not careful. Do we have a throwaway society? Do we just trash stuff easily? Is child behavior better or worse than it was years ago? Better raise your kid right. Okay, I'm just telling you. Should companies market to children? Should the government have a say in our diets? Guess what? All those kids at those high schools, the government was telling what could be served food-wise in your school. If they want funding, they have to follow it. Does access to condoms prevent teen pregnancy? Access does not prevent pregnancy. Usage prevents pregnancy. Would you agree? Yes. Okay. But this is an interesting take. Does access to condoms lead to irresponsible, dangerous, or bad behavior? Oh, I think I'll go have sex because I have a condom. You see where I'm coming from? That's somebody arguing from emotion is what's coming from there. That if I let them have them, they're going to do it.
Your conference is now over. Goodbye.
Okay? I'm being realistic. I've had multiple students have kids sitting in SBC classrooms and in high school classrooms. And access never stopped anybody from getting pregnant. And, you know, and it may have stopped some pregnancies, but it didn't, you know, access doesn't stop, usage stops, okay? So, I'll see you Wednesday, Ms. Pineda will be here, and she'll be going through, look through that list of topics, it's in the argumentative folder in week 7, look through the list of topics, there's a lot more in there, but we just didn't have time to get through them, okay? So, think about what you wanna argue,
The compare.
it's due tomorrow night.
The compare paper that one student wrote about Michael Jordan and Kobe, that's the argument, they seem to make it argument.
Well, that's just it. The whole point is, argument can be written as compare and contrast. Because when she was arguing for the best mascara, she had to talk about 3 different kinds of mascara. So she did a compare and contrast.
Compared 3 of
And
them.
what was this section again?
We are in section 201. I have to stop and think, okay? I don't remember. Okay, well, I've got some mail here. Okay.
Tons of information. All I know is, look at the source. Don't quote the author in your own words, however,
Make sure that you always refer to the author.
yeah.
Yeah, because that's who it's about, it's not about you. And I used to, like I said, I used to try to find articles between 750 and 1,000 words for kids to do it on. And, you know, I could always tell the people that looked for the shortest article, whichever article I had was the shortest, that's the one they went for. And which tells me, why am I wasting my time having them summarize an article? Why don't I make it part of the argumentative essay?
Honestly, that's it.
To me, that makes more sense, because we're showing that they're interrelated, that they're all part of something.
But yeah, rough weekend. I was working all weekend and then.
Was it busy?
Yes, it was unbelievably busy. I kind of moved from register for about 3 hours.
Wow, it's good in one sense, because
Yeah. it's
the
good for
mall's not
business.
been, yeah, it's good for business.
Good for business, really irritating whenever I can't move, or and basically losing my voice from how many people I'm yelling at, like, hey, how are you, like that kind of thing.
Yeah, 'cause it's noisy in the store, 'cause there's music playing, right? I mean, I worked at the mall for,
Face shield along with my mask, so it's just like me, it feels like it's like against me some days, I swear.
oh, yeah. I can believe that. I mean, I worked at the mall for 8 years, only on weekends, so I could get my discount for my clothes.